Alright, we get the black pieces. We'll try getting a Caro Kann and a Slav if they go d4. So, okay, knight f3, d5. I'm expecting opponent to take on d5. He goes for e5 instead, and there are many ways of playing this. Like bishop f5, you could argue it's fine, bishop g4 is fine, but I like to start with c5, stepping into the center and making room for the knight to develop onto c6. And they usually can play c3, d4. I mean, I expect a lot of low-rated people to like play bishop b5 here because it comes with a check. He plays d4 immediately, but the issue with this i4 is that we can take, and knight's coming into c6, and I'm trying to make an argument that the pawn on e5 might be a bit weakened. So play knight c6, hitting the queen, expecting some kind of bishop b5 move to come, pinning the knight, and yeah. Then I think we're gonna get into some sort of French. Okay, he plays like queen a4. I think at this point, yeah, can still play bishop f5, but he's gonna try to like apply pressure on this knight. So I think safest is just to get back into some kind of a French, because there's like no pawn on d4, and this could be a little weak sometimes. So yeah, that's why we get into the French, because there's no pawn on d4, and I think it's a good version for us. And yeah, just bishop d7, ready to play a6. Whenever they take on c6, it's like a big achievement for us, getting the bishop pair. And this knight is like coming into g6, bishop developing to e7, we castle short. And I think we just have very easy development. We can also start with like a6, maybe just like grabbing the bishop immediately. He can't really move it because of knight e5. And after bishop takes, I think taking with a pawn is also fine, but I'm going to be taking with the bishop just because it comes with a tempo, and yeah, hitting the queen. So plays bishop to d3, just going to be taking pawn on e5, hitting his queen, going for the discovery, and we actually just managed to collect the free queen. So yeah, this was like a very thematic tactic. It sometimes even works when let's say the queen instead of a4 is on d1. You can actually just in that position, if the queen is on d1 instead of a4, we can actually take on e5, because bishop d7, take back with the knight, and if they take the knight there, we take on b5, and yeah, we're just have a pawn. So now we actually win the queen. Just play like bishop c6, the line. Okay, there was, by the way, a funny motif here, like bishop, let's say there, and we can actually just take and play rook e1 mate. Still, we get the black pieces against e4 will be going for the good old solid Caro Kann. Does take on d5 and plays knight c3. Again, I really expect a lot of your opponents to play like that, which is great because you get an improved version of this exchange variation, and you should be following the setup that I'm about to show you. We're gonna be playing e6, and then there are many ways of doing this line. Ideally, the setup would be to play bishop d6, queen c7. When there is this specific line with a knight on c3, though, have to watch out for knight b5, and for that reason, we will no longer rush with bishop d6 and queen c7, and we will be, yeah, just developing the knight on the most natural square. When this knight is, by the way, instead of c3, it's placed on d2, like this. Then you can actually use this idea of playing bishop d6, queen c7, keeping having a nice shot on the h2 pawn if your opponent is not careful, and then this knight potentially has ideas of developing to e7, like in some of the queens can be declined lines, but with like colors reversed. I might sound a bit insane now, but I think it will make more sense after the game when I'll be showing you in the analysis tab. So after knight f6, we do get castle. We have a choice between either bishop d6 or e7. I think also maybe there's like a direct bishop f3, queen b6 line. You can simply defend it with knight e2. So I think we're gonna be developing the bishop to like d6 normally, but in this game I'm gonna be playing bishop e7, and then I'm gonna be castling short. Really expecting him to play bishop f4. Okay, he does develop to d2 only, meaning that we can actually take the knight and then, win the pawn on d4. So we're gonna be going exactly for that. And that's sort of the problem for white in these lines, that this pawn on d4 is sort of weak. He did blunder the pawn pretty much, but as I was saying previously, here I was already considering ideas of taking and then going queen b6, because it's pretty tricky to defend. So now we are just up a pawn with a better position. We can simply castle, take on f3 next, and okay, no need to rush with taking, just gonna be activating the rook. This is generally the best place for it, and now that he's attacking the knight, we will finally be taking on f3. And we want to keep it as clean as possible. Do not rush with d4 because you can go rook d1, pinning the pawn. Bishop c5 may allow some bishop g5, bit of annoying stuff. We need to actually like find a good place for the queen. Initially, I was thinking to like even sack the exchange, but I don't think we need to go for super drastic measures at this point. So I think I will just maybe go a6 and then b5, just pushing pawns, as simple as that. Yeah, idea is play b5 next. It's still not gonna be that simple to win, because even though he is down a pawn, his pieces are sort of active. But slowly, I mean, the only thing that we need is to trade these bishops and it's gonna be an easy win. And I was like really expecting this type of move, and there are two ways I would say to try to get rid of it. One of them is to play knight d7, bishop f6, and this is probably what we're gonna go for. And the other one was bishop c5, but then he can go bishop e5, that I don't like. So just gonna be playing knight d7 with the idea to put this bishop on the long diagonal. He's gonna have to trade it most likely, and then with knights only, we're gonna be having a much easier time converting this, I would say. So just bishop f6, making sure we don't get mated in one. And after taking with a queen is also nice. I think I'll just take with a queen because there's now knight e5 idea to jump into like c4. Also use the other route, and black is, yeah, just doing well. Okay, he plays rook d1. Just gonna go for the plan that I mentioned of knight e5, queen d4, knight c4, hitting pawn on b2. Could also go there, forcing queen d2, but I would like to, just keep it simple. Go knight c4, get a queen trade. If he just plays rook b1, then yeah, have this kind of tactics in the air. So I would actually love to take on c3, but he does take b7 at the end of the line. So even though we will still be up a pawn, his rook is getting a bit too active. So we should start b5, and now this is big threat, and he will no longer take on b7 because pawn is now defended. And he plays knight e2, which is a decent move, avoiding that trick. But we're still doing really, really well here. Just need to improve the position, trying to come up with like a plan. We might have to go for like the minority attack eventually. Okay, so he's also trying to get like the knight to d4. Okay, I think I'll start this by doubling up on the c file or bringing rooks over, yeah. And then just a5, and yet play b4, if knight d4, bringing this rook over. Could also start this way, but perhaps simpler to just go rook b8. This on the next move. This is the minority attack, by the way, if you're not familiar with that procedure. We have 2 pawns against 3, so we have a little bit of a minority, but we do get to push, and the goal is to create a weakness that we can later on attack. So looks like that weakness will be the pawn on a3 that we can actually collect. And there's a line after pawn takes, we can go rook b1, knight a3, but again, he can play rook b8. To me, it looks like he's activating, and in this position, I would prefer to have the open file rather than another pawn. So I'm gonna be playing rook b7. It might seem that I'm a bit overly cautious, but we're already up in material. We need to keep an active position, and the extra pawn should be good enough. Just trying to not give any counterplay to my opponent. I'm gonna be playing rook b2, activating, hitting the knight. If knight d4, then I was considering this knight d6 idea. Just jumping to e4 if allowed. Can play f3. But then I think I have a choice. Yeah, I'm actually like not super proud of this knight d6 move that I just did, but we can even go back if needed. We can actually try to argue this was clever because now knight e3 is a move, but I'm not really gonna be that sophisticated. Okay, can we play rook b3 now? Or either like rook c2? I would say rook c2 is simplest. Forcing rook d3. We have rook a1, but this move doesn't really appear as very logical to me. Maybe he wanted rook b1 and he mouse slipped. Now we can just take the pawn. Just take the knight. Alright, and the opponent resigns. We get to 800, and yeah, if you remember earlier in the game, I was saying that there are some lines where you can actually play with bishop d6, queen c7, and knight ge7. So then I compared it to like a queen's gambit declined with reversed colors. So I wanted to say that it's actually same pawn structure. Like in this line, let's say we go for like the exchange variation, knight f6, bishop g5, c6, e3, and let's just say they play bishop e7, and there are all this sort of new lines where you can actually play with knight e2 instead of knight f3. Just go knight e2, and then plan is something like bring rook e1, go f3, bishop coming to like f2, you go e4. Could do something similar in the Caro Kann with like reversed colors, but yeah, I mean generally what would normally happen in the Caro Kann, you can play like sort of the standard way and play like rook b1 and then go for like the minority attack, b4, a6, a4, b5, try to create a weakness, play against it, should be good. Okay, just gotta get the Caro Kann in, and we are just running into the Hillbilly Attack. Wow. I'm gonna be playing d5. Okay, it's not the Hillbilly Attack. That was with bishop b3. But we have ed, so we just take and win the tempo. Have bishop b3. Just gonna be playing knight c6. And the bishop on b3 is actually like not ideally placed because our pawn on d5 is quite solid. Okay, on knight f3, I think we're just gonna be developing. And this bishop is coming to g4. This is constantly gonna be a threat. Yeah, we're just going for it. So main point is that queen takes is not really possible because the pawn drops, and if he has to double the pawns, then it's gonna be kind of a disaster for him. Just take. There's this check, but I thought we can simply drop the knight, but also maybe b5 is a move. Okay, we have queen f4, hitting the knight, just gonna be... So the thing is I can take, could also play knight c6 trying to say that his bishop is a bit out of the game. Honestly, I think both are fine and it doesn't really make a huge difference, so we're just gonna be going with the trades. And gonna be playing e6, developing the bishop next, gaining a tempo, then castling short. And we are up a pawn for nothing. So we're hitting the queen, expecting some sort of check coming. Okay, on queen g5, hitting pawn on g7, we can like simply castle, making sure our king is safe, and potentially knight e4 could come on the next move. And yeah, like since we're up a pawn, we don't really mind the queen trade. And also as a Caro Kann player, generally trading queens should be your bread and butter, because in the Caro Kann, yeah, I mean, the issue is when your opponent takes like a lot of space and he just goes for like a mating attack. But as long as you trade queens, usually it won't be a mating attack, as long as the position is not like completely trash. So okay, he declines the trade. I'm gonna be harassing his queen with 95 though. Okay, so like on queen g3, can keep attacking the queen with like knight c4. Yeah, knight c4 seems fine. I like knight g5, knight g6 a bit better though. So like queen g4, we're gonna be playing f5, hitting the queen. So we have queen d4. But I mean, that queen is really vulnerable. I think we can play knight f4. Sort of fishing for castle and knight e2 check. So knight f3. Thinking to play e5. Knight e5, bishop e5, queen e5. Both knight e3 and rook e8 are fine. Can't take this pawn because the knight defends. And also, by the way, quite a common theme that I've noticed in low-rated games. It's exactly what I was about to highlight. They forget that the knight moves backwards. It's simply they don't get it, okay? The knight does not only go this way or that way or there, also goes here and here, and more importantly on d5. And that's something that you should stop doing if you do it, and more so if you're playing these elos, try to exploit that maybe. It sounds a bit too scientific though. Gonna playing e4, hitting the knight. Rook d1, just gonna be mating on g2. Alright, can go for the next one. Let's just go to the Caro. Oh no, did we abort? No, we've got it in time. Have d4, just gonna playing d5. And see, again, I'm like expecting a lot of the people to take on d5. But we see knight c3 by my opponent, and big question, are we gonna be playing the Tartakov or going knight f6, or we go for the Mainline, or we go for the Karpov line? I think all three options are perfectly viable. Some people may argue like the Karpov is a bit meh, but I like it in a way that it's not super well known. So for this game, I'm gonna be playing knight f6. Going for the Tartakov variation. Super popular nowadays, and now the main capture is with the e pawn. Taking with the g pawn is also fine. I mean, I shouldn't really say it's fine, because maybe white has like a small edge with super precise play, but it's leading to interesting positions. That's what I meant to say. You can just take bishop c4. I'm quite sure about the fact that queen e7 is an important move, and then if they play knight e2, we can play queen c7. And if they go queen e2, we go for the endgames. Because like bishop d6, I think he's got queen e2 check as an annoying move. So I think we start this way. You know, just to be super precise. Now queen c7, bishop's coming, we castle. Plays knight g3. I'm actually wondering if we can like ever play h5 and king f8. Each check. But we're just gonna be keeping it simple this time. We do see rook e1. I think rook d8 sometimes is okay. I'll start this way and then probably rook d8, knight f8, something like that. Okay, he does play d5, which is a bit rushed in my opinion. I think can either go knight e5 or knight b6. I would just go knight b6, hitting both the bishop and the pawn. And after like bishop b3, can even like take twice on d5 and just play with a bishop pair. Just like a bit of a slightly better position. Okay, b3 definitely looks quite questionable. There's like bishop e5 as a move, hitting the rook. He's got rook b1 though, so we don't really achieve that much. I guess there are like a lot of good ways of playing this, but I think I'm just gonna try to keep it super simple. Just trading pieces, okay? Rule number 1, trading, and then developing with tempo. Hitting the queen. Couldn't really have taken the pawn on c2 because the bishop was hanging. And yeah, perhaps bishop e5 next could be very annoying, yeah? So like, we're hitting the rook, but not only the rook, but even after rook b1, we have bishop c3 as a move now, winning the exchange, so that worked out pretty well. Okay, queen e2, but we just like pick up the exchange and then take on c2 even. Do we need that pawn on c2? Okay, again, I'm not gonna be going super greedy. He plays rook b2, we have to play back. That's fine, but I'll rather try to play this first. Just focus on like development. We see queen d2. And yeah, I'm trying to think about like back rankers, but he's got a knight there that can defend. So just bring the rook with tempo, hitting the queen. You see that pretty much all the moves came with tempo, and yeah, like finish development. What I really love about this whole Tartakovsky variation is that our king is like so safe all the time thanks to these pawns that are guarding it, and yeah, we just have like pretty much no risks as black, and we do get to push and take advantage of their mistakes quite easily, I would say. Right, we managed to cash this one in. Okay, against d4 we're gonna be playing Caro Kann. And whenever they play knight f3, I'm expecting e d5, but okay, opponent plays e5, and I've actually had a lot of my my students running into this kind of lines, and they're playing bishop f5. I had to tell them a lot of the times that it's better to start with c5. It's not like super common for the Caro Kann, but when they allow you to get into sort of an improved Sicilian, you should. Because the knight is ideally placed on c6, and they also don't really get to push d4 in like good conditions. Okay, opponent does it now, but we can like take on d4 and play knight c6, and we've sort of managed to break that pawn chain. When you take with a queen though, we develop and gain a tempo. We would have played the same move if he takes with a knight. If bishop b5, I think we just play e6, and we're trying to claim that we have an improved version of the French. Yeah, bishop b5, just gonna play like e6. Castles and bishop d7, and actually a lot of them are forgetting about the pin. Okay, this one did not. Be taking with a bishop, and knight e7 comes either to f5 or to like g6. That is the common route. And yeah, we just play knight e7. Knight could come into like f5. Knight could go to like g6. Which one is better? Like knight f5 could be potentially targeted with g4. I think we'll use g6 square now. And then okay, bishop g5, just developing. Perhaps it was an idea to also maybe play queen b6 and keep the bishops. But I thought this should be completely fine. This bishop is like a bit passive for now. That is correct, but it's not gonna be always like that. Especially after we break with f6 maybe. Could break with f6. Also, you're not forced to break with f6. Trying to evaluate whether f6 can be leading to some interesting play for us. I think it could if he takes and then we take with a g-pawn. But then if it doesn't, we'll have to take on e5 twice. I'm not sure about that position. Yeah, I think it might be better to actually focus on the other side of the board and play something like maybe... I'll start with b6, ideas of playing queen c5. Does black have compensation for the fact that you're temporarily cramped? Well, it's not that bad in this position because we have managed to trade a bunch of miners, so I would say the position is like maybe very slightly better for white, but super close to equal. And yeah, especially if we could get like a queen trade in, it would make it like much easier. Then this knight could be potentially rerouted this way. Bishop is activating via b5. I mean, obviously it would be a dream scenario if he takes on c5 and opens up the b file. Okay, just bishop b5 activating. The rook e3, I mean only move, and then knight e7 with either knight f5 or knight c6 ideas. Okay, knight e7. Big threat of going knight f5. His rook will actually be trapped, so maybe he has to play something like g4 to stop that, but then we can use this knight c6 idea, sort of forcing queens off. Does go to h4, but it doesn't really save him. Get a knight to f5 with tempo, take on e3. We're entering the winning territory. There's still like a bit of work to do though. So he's trying to mate and can just defend and attack in like the same time with h6. Avoiding mate and also hitting the knight. Tries b4, going for this vision zug. Can just take though. Hitting another knight. And we could take the knight, but we could actually also just go for the mate. Because the bishop covers it. Hey, and there we have it, we get a checkmate. Hopefully we're gonna be playing an interactive Caro Kann. Just gonna be going d5. Have the first advanced line of the series. And I expect a lot of bishop coming into d3 sooner or later. Let's see if I'm actually familiar with the player pool that I'm going against. And we have bishop e2, so first time I'm actually wrong. Gonna be playing which setup? There are plenty. That's like c5 obviously as the most common line. I think you can actually get away with it in like lower ranks because they don't really know how to play against those. But I was wondering maybe if we could go for like more of a maneuvering setup. I think I'm gonna go c5 though, just because it feels a bit easier to understand. Yeah, knight c3 is not really a move like bishop e3 was best, and I think you can just play knight c6 and get a good position. Thing is, there are like a lot of theoretical debates after like bishop e3. There's either the line with like cd, knight e4, knight e7, or you could also play like the poison pawn lines with like queen b6, queen b2, given by Erwin Lamy. I actually like those. I did some move trainer there. I mean, I was booked up at some point. Not very well booked up now, but I'm doing my best. So against bishop b5, I think you can just play like c4 and get a good position because we're trapping this guy. No, c5 is like mainline, it's just that it requires a lot of theory and knowledge against well-prepared opponents to survive. Not saying you're gonna enjoy the positions generally, but to survive. Okay, so just bishop back. Not sure this actually gain much. Just gonna play a6, just hunting the bishop as I was saying. He's gonna have to trade. But we do have the bishop pair. And that is like pretty important piece for white. So c4 is not like a common move that you always wanna make. It's just that in this case was super useful because we were like trapping his bishop on b5. Goes knight a4. If we check, he's got like c3. So yeah, checking doesn't really make much sense. I'm considering g5 as going active and trying to grab some space. Maybe that's actually doable, just g5, g4. Because my pieces are like a bit stuck, but they don't need to be like that forever, right? So bishop e3, I could go like g4, h5. Could also go bishop e3, bishop e4 with idea to play g4 then. But then like bishop e3, bishop e4, and then like castles, and then g2 is defended, so I don't know. That doesn't look like a very good move because g4 is like even more unpleasant now. It's gotta go all the way back to like g1. So just go g4, h5, keep expanding, and it feels quite pleasant. Plays black here. Yep, keep advancing. If knight e2, then I think bishop e4 works just fine. Didn't really like bishop e4 at first because of f3, but now bishop e4 looks quite juicy. Still he's got like f3, pawn takes, knight takes, h4. I think I'd rather start with h4 anyways. Idea to take, and then he's gonna be like in trouble. So gonna be taking once. Let's see if he takes with the bishop. I guess so. Only move. Otherwise his rook gets trapped. Okay, we managed to trap the rook. That is pretty nice. There's still like an interesting line. Queen g4, bishop h1, queen g7. There seems to be bishop f6 as sort of a cooler. Probably taking on h2 wins as well. Please knight f3 though, which is simply resignation because we end up not only winning the rook but also the knight. Okay, get a mate. Hey everyone, thanks a lot for making it this far into the video, and in case you're looking for more content, make sure to check out a video from the previous London rating climb that I did, or perhaps one from the French defense. So I'd like to thank you for watching. I'll see you around on the channel. Take care.